Hey everybody, Steve Colescott here. We're doing another segment of Video Inquisitions. This time we're going to be talking, we're going to be sending some questions to Michael Stuchiner, who writes a very popular column for us called Paper. And Dave Tate, the way he described Mike to me was that he is probably the one lifter who totaled elite that probably never should, but did it through pure strength of will. So to start out with, Mike, what drove you to total elite, and how long did this take you?
I guess the two biggest things that drove me to total my elite would be, first and foremost, to prove all the people that really didn't think I'd be able to total elite to begin with. To prove them wrong has given me a tremendous amount of pleasure, I must admit. And the other thing that really drove me was because of the passion I have for the sport of powerlifting. I'm going to give a very brief example of this. I've been competing in powerlifting for approximately 22 years now, and it took me about 15 years to total my elite. I'm actually quite proud of that because I am certainly not a genetically gifted lifter, and everything I did was through pure hard work. Plain and simple.
And Mike, who gave you the nickname Paper, and what does it mean?
The nickname Paper. Well, that's an interesting little story. I have to give credit to the person who gave me the nickname, which is Tom Waddle. Tom was one of my training partners at Westside. And Tom's a really great guy. I've always been real fond of Tom. Tom and I were training with the rest of the group one day. We were doing a max effort bench movement. And when we were done doing that and our tricep work, we did some upper back together. And interestingly enough, Tom turned around and he looked at me and he said, in a joking way, he said, "Now I'll tell you what, for a guy who's been in powerlifting for a short period of time, you have an incredibly large amount of soft muscle tissue that you hold on that body of yours." And he then backed that statement up with another statement of basically saying that he can mold me into anything he wants because I'm as soft as paper mache. So therefore, that's how I got the nickname Paper Mache. And that's how it stuck with me for the last 22 years. The irony behind the nickname is actually this. This is really what makes me laugh. That name, while the premise behind it was supposed to be degrading and putting me down, the funny thing is that name has sort of given me the status I have today. If you ask most people if they know who Mike Stuchiner is in powerlifting, most of them would say, not particularly. I don't know who that is. But if you ask most people if you know who Paper is, I think you'll get a very, very different response to that question.
And lastly, Mike, what were some of the obstacles that you had to overcome on your progression to your elite total? And how did you maintain your motivation to overcome them?
I would probably have to say the two biggest obstacles that I had to overcome in order to achieve my elite was physical and mental strength. When I started powerlifting, I really had neither one. I was not very physically strong, and I certainly wasn't the most mentally strong lifter. And that's why I have to tell you I am so grateful to have become a part of Westside Barbell, in the fact that there is no greater club that gives you the environment to make you not just a physically stronger person, but as well a mentally stronger person. And their methods are clearly time-tested. They basically beat you down and then they rebuild you. And it's plain and simple, that's all there is to it. As far as my motivation is concerned, I think what the best way of explaining how I kept motivated all these years was through my tunnel vision. I saw what my end result goal was. I knew that as long as I kept my eye on the ball and as long as I continued to chip away and climbed up that mountain bit by bit, that someday I would achieve my goal. And that is what's really kept me motivated. And I would also probably say another thing that's kept me motivated is the fact that I became a student of the sport. So the learning process was very invigorating for me. And that also, not just learning about how to train, but learning what worked for me versus what maybe didn't work so well for me throughout the years is something that's also kept me very motivated.